Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. So today I'm going to give you a garden tour, and I'm actually going to do a part 1 and a part 2. So much has changed since the last time that I did a tour. I think it's only been about a week and a half, but right now the growing season is upon us, and so everything is just taking off. We're being cut back, we're being changed. So I hope you enjoy garden tours, and I'm going to take you around because I really want to spend a little bit of time being able to tell you some of the changes that I've made, along with some of the things I'm thinking about that I need to do next in the garden. If you're enjoying my channel, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, like the video, and even hit that notification bell to get notified anytime a new video comes out. All right, let's go for a stroll. Well, I thought it would be nice to start with this end of the garden today, sort of the tropical half moon garden at the end of my pool, because I was unable to give you video of it last time as I ran out of time, but it has definitely changed quite a bit. As you can see, my two giant planters with the coffee cups, elephant ears, are doing really well. And in both of them I have petunias, and along with the petunias I also have eggplant. That's what this is. It's a white colored eggplant, so it should be really pretty when it begins to grow. But those are just doing magnificent. And my banana trees are looking really good as well. And look at these hibiscus. These are the evening rose hibiscus. They are gorgeous. The foliage on them and the color is just so striking. And then behind them I have some daylilies. And my 7 sunflower, the Tien Shen 7 sunflower, is not yet blooming, but it is putting on buds, which is awesome. And the coleus back here is just glowing. I'm going to take you around the back. I did end up planting tuberous begonias in here because I had those in the pots with my cannas on the deck. And what was happening is they were kind of outgrowing their space. They really are quite large. And so I planted them kind of randomly throughout this bed, and they were all supposed to be pink, but you'll notice that very few of them actually are pink. I think they actually put a random selection of tubers in there as opposed to the pink that were supposed to be in there. And my privet, the golden ticket privets here, they are blooming and they smell absolutely fantastic. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to get the privets, not only because they have really pretty foliage and will make for a nice hedge behind the seating area, but because they smell good. My dahlias are doing very well. In fact, I have 2 over here that are actually blooming right now. Look at that. Aren't those gorgeous? I just love the color. And I think these are the blue boy dahlias. I didn't mark each tuber. I just really like the colors of them, and so those are the ones that I selected. And so you'll see that I've planted both sides of this bed very symmetrically, and the geraniums are doing well. Now normally I wouldn't do so many different colors in one spot, but again, I wasn't expecting these tuberous begonias to be this color. They have really gorgeous blooms, but they really don't go that well with pink. It's okay. Again, they're beautiful flowers, so I really don't want to get rid of them. And I will enjoy them, but definitely not pink. My sunflowers are looking great. I have a sunflower in this pot to kind of give a little bit of shade to the elephant ears. I have found that they actually like a little bit of shade from the sun as opposed to being direct sun all day long. So that has helped, and they definitely enjoyed the significant amount of rain that we got. These right here are my key lime marigolds. They're about 3 feet tall and they're getting ready to bloom. And then behind those you can see I have several more sunflowers in the vegetable garden. I had planted these for a neighbor in her yard, but had some leftover seedlings, so I popped them in here. And my cherry tomatoes in the potager garden are going to town. They are just loaded with tomatoes. And then I have some good-hearted tomatoes on the other side that are also starting to ripen. I've definitely gotten to eat some of those fresh from the garden already, which was fantastic. Now over here along the edge, I have Virginia and some heuchera, along with some salvia and dianthus. It's really a mixture of different flowers and plants that I love. Now, I cannot recall if this is the Cleopatra coneflower or if it is the powwow white, but it's going to be beautiful either way. I think it's the Cleopatra one, but we'll see. And then I have a small lavender plant here that is blooming as well, along with the phlox. And a pot full of dahlias. My red hot pokers with the raspberry plant behind it. And this lobelia with the super soft bunny tails grass. That is so soft. I love to just, it's like a touch and feel kind of plant. My hydrangea back here is doing really well. My angel wing gourds is just going to town back here. You can see it growing not only up the trellis but also trying to hook onto my walls, and I had to cut it off of the screen of my window up over here. But is very happy where it is. Now I did over here pull out the foxglove that had the rust on either side, so what I'm probably going to do next is pull some of these daylilies that are in the bag and move them forward so that you can see them better, and they'll get a little bit more sun as well, which they'll really like. And they are a white daylily and they are scented, so that is really spectacular. I love the way that these 9-bark and the purple smoke bush glow. It's the purple wine smoke bush. As the sun begins to go down, they just really pick up that sunshine well. I have some red sweet Marconi peppers that are not red. Obviously that's green. And then my hot and heavy peppers are doing really well over there. And my liatris is starting to bloom. And there's some more of those key lime marigolds. I have a bunch of basil here that is really doing well. And then some more tomatoes in this bed as well, which are some bigger ones. These are the glacier tomatoes. I picked those specifically because they have a very short number of days to maturity. And then the onions are doing great. You can see how wonderful they are growing in the soil. These are the candy onions, so I'm hoping they have a little bit of sweetness to them. And then my foxgloves over here are still healthy, but they're done blooming, so I cut those back and hopefully I'll get another little bit of blooms out of them. Now the rabbits had eaten these serviceberry bushes. These are supposed to get about 10 to 12 feet tall, and they're really coming back quite well. So I think they're going to do much better next year because they'll be a bit thicker, and I don't think the rabbits will like them as much. And even though the irises are done blooming, I really like the contrast of the blue waxy foliage along with the big leaves of the Virginia. And my coneflowers are starting to bloom all over my yard. My 9-bark here on the corner that I just planted is doing well. And I think it looks really nice in contrast with both the irises as well as the sedum that's in front of them. So I'm really happy with the way that that turned out. Now over here, my pink mink clematis is finally starting to bloom. And let me see if I can show you a bloom straight on here. They're very dainty. but also very beautiful. And there's a lot of buds on it now. I was kind of worried it wasn't going to bloom this year, but it is the first year that it is in the ground. My worries are over now. This Weigela is looking really healthy, and my catnip back here, the Walker's Low, is coming back and probably going to bloom again within the next couple of days. I have trimmed my two, oh my goodness, why am I blanking on what these are? You know what these are, they're barberry. These are the small barberry, and I trimmed them up so they're shaped well. And I put a little bit more mulch in this bed because there was a lot of mess after the people came to do the pool heater here. And I also moved a few things around. And what did I move? I moved this Patriot hosta. It was back right where the Pinky Winky Hydrangea is. And then the Pinky Winky Hydrangea was where these tuberous begonias were. So I wanted to move it and center it a little bit closer to the pool heater so that I could, you know, have it cover that best. And then I planted the tuberous begonias in the ground that were in this pot. So everything's looking pretty good there. And then I have had to trim back all of my phlox that were in here along with my dianthus. But that's okay, because now that gives the Patriot hostas some time to shine, along with the coneflowers, which are getting ready to bloom. And these are big, you guys. This year they have really gotten large. And then I have my coralberry bush right here, and it has some very tiny blooms on it. And while they are small, the pollinators still really like them. And that will make a gorgeous light pink berry in the fall. Now these are interesting, the way these coneflowers are growing. I'm not sure why they're doing this. Normally they would be pink by now, but they're actually kind of a strange pink and white. So I'm not sure if this year they're going to come out a different color, but they were normal pink last year. Or purple. So we'll see. Then over in this bed, I have been working on this, you guys, because I felt like it was a little bit busy and it didn't feel very restful on the eye because I just had too many plants in there. I still probably do, but I think I've done about as much as I can right now as the summer is getting into full swing, and I don't want to move things around too much more at this point because it will require a lot of watering and babying. So what I did was I moved these three salvia right together because I thought that would give a little bit more of a punch. And I added a pulmonaria right here. Now I have done a few pulmonarias that I have moved. I've divided them and moved them. Pulmonarias do not transplant well in the heat, but they will grow back. They'll be just fine. So if you're ever dividing one and you transplant it and it looks horrible, do not fret, do not frown. As long as you got it in the ground and you watered it in well, it should come back wonderfully for you. And then I also added another coneflower over here for a little bit more height, because I felt like one coneflower just wasn't quite going to cut it. I'm getting some blooms on this hydrangea. This is a Bar Harbor Seaside Serenade, and it's a Hydrangea arborescens, a smooth hydrangea. And my rainbow Weigela is coming along quite well back there. I really like the contrast it provides to this Tuscany barberry and this gorgeous thundercloud plum tree. Look how that glows in the light. Now the other thing that I did was I grouped a couple more of these hostas here together. I thought that that looked a little bit more cohesive. And all of the daylilies now are back here as opposed to being quite as spread out as they were last time. So I think it looks better. It obviously will look even better once that pulmonaria out front bushes out. And then I moved all of the white petunias into the same area. And for some reason they're not doing very well over here. I don't know why. They're doing great in other parts of my garden. Now check out, this is the same hydrangea as the other one that I just showed you, and it is doing fabulous. I think it looks just gorgeous. I love the hydrangea arborescens. Those and the paniculata are the ones that do the best in our zone, in zone 5B, where I am. The macrophylla ones do not do well. So you can see these two pulmonaria right here. They are splayed out and look limp and disastrous, but they're going to be okay. Again, those are the ones that I just divided. I pulled them forward. I planted those there, and I moved this 9-bark back a little bit, and then I put the fern on the other side so that it's kind of surrounded by those. I've done a lot in the garden lately, just moving things around. This is where I planted my so-called extra little hydrangea that I got off of the Incredibles that I had planted just the other day. And so I think that's going to look nice in line as you look down this row. Then there'll be a hydrangea here, and hydrangea over here. And I think that will be really pretty. Once they all mature and are kind of blooming around the same time, that will be really nice. Then I also planted and divided some Francis William hostas to put back here. Because before all I had was this like kind of greenish blue blah hosta back here and over here. So I'll have to wait until next year for those to really fill out and look good. But I'm really excited about that because it does bring a little bit more color into this area. And the height of them is bigger than the others. So I think those look really nice, and my shade baskets are hanging in there. Ha ha ha, funny joke, but they look nice, I think. And I just continue to work on this pathway in terms of getting all of the parts and pieces that my husband pulled out when he was doing the new patio in here, and they're all laid in now, and I think they look pretty nice. They kind of make it look a little bit wider, even though it was I haven't changed the width of it. It does, I think, feel a little bit more open. And then over here in this bed, I divided some of these hostas as well, so that there's again a little bit more density and it looks a little more full. I divided this hosta and put it on either side of one of the oak leaf hydrangeas that I got. So this one was the first one that I got, and it was looking very chlorotic and yellow, and now it's really starting to darken up and get greener, and it's got some nice healthy new growth. So that looks good, and my Solomon seal in the middle there is also looking really good and healthy. I have a powwow white echinacea here that's just starting to open, along with this blue lobelia along here. And I added this blue hosta right here. So you can tell this bed is a little bit more full, and that's kind of what I'm doing everywhere right now. Because it rained and it cooled off a little bit, it was an excellent time for me to be doing a lot of transplanting and dividing. So I'll take you up and we'll look at the seeding area here, just to show you how things are looking. It's looking lovely. It's a very relaxing spot to sit in. I just love the contrast of all the different kinds of foliage right here in terms of the color and the shape. And then since the last garden tour over here, I moved a hosta that was right here and planted the boxwood because I think that's going to look really nice on the corner. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but I like that. That's going to look really nice as it grows in. And then I moved the hostas back along here, so those hosta standards are all going to be along this row now. And the ferns are getting much bigger. And then let's look at that combo of foliage, you guys, with the heuchera and the fern and the hosta. Isn't that pretty? I just bought a Sun King Aurelia today, so he's sitting up here on this stump behind Levitating Buddha. Let's see what else have I done. Okay, I added this hosta back here. I've got my music box rose over here, so I'm looking forward to that growing on and getting some nice blooms soon. This bed I moved around a bit. I took one of the hostas out over here because it was rather thick. I moved this hosta back. It was kind of further in the center, and I put the liatris up to the front there so that it was more in the sun. This is my almost dead boxwood that I just haven't had the heart to pull up yet. It's looking kind of ridiculous though, you guys. I really should pull it out. And I will. I just want to find something to put there instead. So that bed I think is looking really nice. And I added 2 hostas back here, 2 blue hostas. I divided one. And you might notice too that my Annabelle hydrangea I had over here where this hosta is. So I moved it over to make room for that blue one because I really wanted the blues to be on this side together along with that Hakona Chloe grass. And then I also felt like that hydrangea was going to get more sun in that particular situation because there's kind of a hole between the bushes right there. And you can see this variegated topiary is doing much better than the other one. It's really greening up finally. So it's going to be a-okay. And all of the grass or sedge that I divided here is filling in pretty nicely. I'm liking it a little better now. I'm still not completely sold on it, but I definitely think it looks better than it did when it was very sparse. And I think the thicker it gets, the better it will look as it spills over the front of those rocks. Now I also planted a hosta back here. That's another one of those standards. What else? There's been a lot going on in my yard. All of these hostas in front here have bloomed, but I have trimmed all of the blooms back because what I really like about these hostas and what I, grew them on in the way that I did was for this look, the nice, smooth look. And then behind it, you can see we have the heucheras along with the 2 pink geraniums and the boxwood, and I really like the way that this bed is looking right now, and I can't wait until some of these little begonias fill in a little bit more with that rosy color. I just love how the rose and the pinks and the reds are kind of blending in here, and it's looking really nice. And I definitely added some more hostas back here and some more of the geranium macrophyllum back there. And then I divided some purple palace heucheras and put them in there. So they're a little bit droopy right now, but they'll be okay. They're very dark, so it's hard to see, I think, in this light, but they're there. And I took some of the old stepping stones and I've kind of put them in the beds all around in different spots, and I'm gonna kind of dig them in a little bit so they look a little bit more natural and they're not quite as obvious. Over here my soapwort is blooming, and that's just starting to come out. And you're gonna see some of my liatris are starting to bloom, others are not quite there yet. When we do the front garden tour, I think you will be excited to see just how many of them are in bloom, how pretty they look. Now before we go in the long border, I want to take you over really quick to show you the planters that are poolside that we did together. I think that they look really good still, and they made it through the rain okay. Turtle Boy protected them. So here we are with the geranium, and then the patoka and the coleus. And then in this one, this is the dinosaur kale with the blueberry bush, and then the same planting on the other side. So those are doing really well. Then we have one more planter on this end that is starting to look much better. I have the white petunia along with the orange geum, and then Amanda Vila right here. I think it's going to be a white one. Everything's filling in over here. I moved one of my geraniums over here. I think it would look nice if it comes through and kind of grows through the other bushes and things that are in this bed. Now again, I've got some heucheras in here that I divided, and they look very floppy. Overnight they usually perk up, and then by the end of the day they're like ready to take a nap. So they are napping right now. But everything's coming up really well here. It's just filling out. Just filling out. Same with this coneflower. I transplanted this, and it flaps really bad at the end of the day. Now this bed, I'm really happy with how it's coming along. I divided some of the heucheras in here too, so you can see they're a little tired, not quite as floppy as the ones that I just showed you, but back over here, definitely very floppy. I planted my All the Rage rose here. This is my Climbing Eden rose back here, which is really starting to put on a lot of new growth. And my Deutzia right here is really filling out. So I just really like the way that looks right now. And the rest of the garden bed is also looking nice. I did have to cut back all my dianthus, so I'm kind of missing those right now. This whole bed, and I hope to do a series about the evolution of a garden to talk a little bit about, you know, some of the changes that have been massive over the years. But this whole bed, from this pole all the way down to that quick fire hydrangea there, was covered in ground elder and anemones. They just invaded. And so last year I fought a battle against them, and I'm still pulling them out here and there, watching diligently. But overall I think it looks really good, considering that none of this was here except for the arborvitaes last year. My 2 sun baskets are looking incredibly full. And my hydrangeas, oh, they're starting to come out, you guys. The hydrangea season is upon us. I'm loving the way these 2 planters have filled in. Look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous. The sun patiens are doing good. Whoever told me theirs wilted in the sun, I don't know. In zone 5B, they seem to do really well. They get full sun here. So we have salvia and the light yellow patoka and the sun patiens in here, along with some megacopa bacopa back here, the blue. Now my husband just made this stair here. It was just a slope beforehand, and then I have planted some thyme in the edge here to make it look like it's been here forever. And this garden bed is looking even prettier than it did before because of the fact that now my butterfly bushes are really starting to come up. You can see those. Those are the pugster pink ones. And my salvias have some reblooming happening. And I think they just look gorgeous with these incredible hydrangeas. And behind them, I just love how that geranium is blue. And I cut back this geranium right here, and it's starting to flesh out again really well, and it will be putting out blooms really soon. And can you just imagine that growing through the incredible hydrangeas? It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait. Definitely looking forward to seeing that. And the fountain garden's looking lovely. I haven't cut back these kind of sculptural skeletons of the Allium giganteum. But the daylilies are blooming over here. I'm going to give you a close-up of those because they're gorgeous and they smell really good. Along with the Bordeaux Supertunia there. Another Bordeaux Supertunia over here, and these are the Cleopatra coneflowers. And I have just tucked into this some verbena bonariensis. I was so excited to get those because I've always been wanting them and could never find them at a store near me. But I've got some now, and they're going to look lovely for the rest of the season, hopefully. So yeah, that's looking really colorful and just very joyful right now. And then I do have another daylily that's blooming over here. Isn't this one gorgeous? Look at the color on that. I wish I could remember what it is. I kind of have a problem with that, remembering specific plant names. I have to research some of them. If I've had them for a long time, they kind of tend to slip out of my mind. The dianthus in this bed definitely is going through a slow phase right now. I cut it back and it's starting to put out some new growth. The spirea back there is looking really nice. We're starting to get some more blooms and buds on this salvia. This is the Rose Marvel salvia. And look at the pretty glow of the new growth on this Japanese maple. And won't it look lovely when that Japanese maple starts to reach out and touch this hydrangea? This is the quick fire hydrangea, and you can see it's starting to actually turn a little pink. Kind of turns a pink and burgundy color. My lavender plants are looking good, and I have to tell you, these are just coming into their own right now. The pink diamond, bleeding hearts, and then there's some sweet woodruff that you can see that is coming right in to the middle of it and around it. I'm hoping it doesn't take over. I really do like the way that it looks, kind of coming through it and growing through it. So we'll see how that kind of lives together over time in the garden. And then this hydrangea is also putting on its blooms. And this is where I tucked that purple Prince alternatia. I think that's how you say it. And there's my spearmint heuchera. And this is salvia right in front of it, which is going to bloom soon too. And this clematis is just still putting out color for me, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to show you a couple of things on the deck to kind of round out the end of our tour here. This is that planter with my dwarf cherry tree and the parsley and the royal velvet petunia. I cannot recall the name of this one. I got this one on clearance for a couple bucks. That's a Super Bells. I just don't know what kind it is. And this is another hot pink geranium with the royal velvet. And the hot pink geranium with the Bordeaux. And look at this canna. This is the one that I have pulled the tuberous begonias out of because there's so many and they're growing so thick. I may even need to divide this and put some of those into my other pot. Then I was hoping this would be in bloom, you guys, when I was doing this tour, but it's not quite yet. It is so close. Tomorrow's the 4th of July, and I think we're going to get the fireworks on this plant tomorrow. And this lobelia is looking rather pretty next to this sedum with the little frog poking his head out, the prince frog. And I'm getting some nice new growth here. This is, oh, I'm blanking on the name of it now. It's a berry, lingonberry. It's a lingonberry. People like to make sauce on it. It's really good on crepes. And wow, these elephant ears, whew, did they like the rain? I tell you what, look at that. I mean, this is my hand, right? So all of a sudden they just went massive on me. And then I've got my squash over here. These are going to be my summer squash. Got some excellent flowers down in here growing. This is a nice bush form rather than a vining form, so it takes up less space. And here's a little close-up of the raspberries I've got brewing on this bush here. And my rosemary topiary. And I'm trying to protect my strawberries with these two little cages here, but you can see they're just blooming their little heads off and trying to put out fruit. And I think they're actually getting a little bit crowded in these pots, so I think I'm going to need to start digging them out and dividing them further. Well, I hope you enjoyed this garden tour. Part 1 is over, but stay tuned for part 2. That'll be coming out soon. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time. Bye.